Welcome to the very first edition of the platform this new year. And I say Happy New Year to you all. My name is Sam Omashaye. From the messianic return of President Muhammadu Buhari to animals creeping into our national conversation and the hysteria of the National Assembly, 2018 was indeed an eventful year. Nigeria became a zoo, snakes and a gang of monkeys ruled. Rather than own up to their crimes, thieves and mismanagers began an animal tag blame game. But the verdict lies with you, the viewer. You get to decide which of these stories were good, bad, and funny. Also this weekend, you will see excerpts from some of the most riveting discussions of the Big Talk segment in 2018. We have been running a country based on sentiment, and countries don't develop without ideas. How can we move from a republic of sentiment to a republic of ideas? How do we get there?
You put your finger on it. I'm very happy that you have isolated this as one of our major problems. Sentiment. And that sentiment includes also familiarity. You know, it goes even beyond, shall we say, clannishness. It's just like what we're used to, the tendency to say, oh no, it's okay, let's just manage it. They've been with us a long time, we've been with them a long time. Why opt for the possibility of something new, especially if it threatens to be drastically new? And yet, we need a departure. You know, I don't like to use the word revolution, but let's say we need revolutionary thinking, at the very least. Frankly, I'm tired of the old brigade, and I'm no longer sentimental about any politician, no longer sentimental about any past record, beyond giving credit where credit is due. But I believe that we're overripe for a drastic change.
You were chief of staff to Rotimi Amechi. People still wonder, a chief of staff is almost like the blood brother of the president, of the governor. How did it come about? Because there have been some stories. It's good for you to say it in your own words.
Well,
what happened?
I don't know. I've told people that I cannot really say. Everybody, you know, like in a system, just like what's happening in the country today. There are those in the system who want to asthma some people or want to do some people and would think that, oh, if this person is pushed away, you may have the opportunity to. So, you know, something like that, whatever thing that happened, and probably the leadership or the head bought the idea. So, I don't want to go into, they said this, they didn't say that. But the point of the matter is that, for me, there was no need of what happened at all. But it's like when you're a leader, you must understand in the system. You must avoid this gossip.
Gossip?
Or that can destroy a political team.
I mean, there was intrigue.
Of course, but you may call it intrigue, but you must be careful. It's not like what we're talking about, what's happening in Nigeria today. What we're talking about in the government of Buhari. This person has smartened this person doing this, all those kinds of things. And before you know it, that may bring down the system.
INEC does not need to see thoughts. INEC does not need to see anybody trying to play hanky-panky around the polling area. But the vote is already rigged before it even happened.
Some of the challenges we have faced of late of open vote buying at polling units is a direct consequence of the improvements of the electoral process. Whether you induce voters before elections or you buy votes on election day, both are acts criminalized by the Electoral Act. And therefore, those who are involved in that must be apprehended and prosecuted. We can come to the issue of prosecution later, and also the involvement, the responsibilities of the commission. But the second responsibility is the commissions. How do we make this impossible at polling units? So we've changed the administration of the polling units. The system provides for open secret balloting. In other words, once a voter is accredited and he or she gets the ballot paper, the choice is made in secret in the voting cubicles. And thereafter, the ballot is dropped into the ballot box in the open. So we realize that as voters move from the voting cubicles to the ballot boxes, some of them have a way of indicating to some of the vote buyers the party that they have voted for before dropping the ballot papers into the ballot boxes. So in Osun, for instance, we introduced a new system altogether.
When I saw what was being written, I knew the Nigerian situation had been brought into it. And the Nigerian situation is that we are becoming tribalistic, which I hope you'll go on to next.
Yes.
It has become tribalistic. Yeah. But at the same time, the fact that they're becoming tribalistic does not mean I should demote my university. Yeah. I will bring it up as much as I can, but some people may be needed to be taught lessons. Yeah. Not taught lessons which deprive them of their position as educated and well-instructed persons in their areas of teaching. But outside their areas of teaching in the university, if they behave wrongly, I will do what has to be done. And it didn't go down too well. When I brought the report back to Lagos, this time it wasn't me shaking in my shoes. It was other people shaking in their shoes. But I had sent messages to say, look, don't carry on this thing to a far end. This is my part of Nigeria. Yeah. You are not here to defend me, because I had had that defense my first year. Some people had come out to say, what have you done wrong? By the time I finished telling them what I had done right, they went back and said, we will support her. And that left me.
So the visitation was a visitation on the other people.
We have this third world mentality, first generation inferiority complex. That's why I still once more say, I understand the glitterazzi of Tinapa is healthy enough. So what do? Do I allow all of that to run to waste? No. And that's why I fought very hard to get the formal approval from Colonel Hamid, who is the Comptroller General of Customs, who sent a delegation here and make sure that he tidied us up. Today we can ship into Tinapa. We have big emporia there that are looking for people to take, for us to lease out. But seeing the difficulty in getting patronage for Tinapa, even now that I've actually finally approved a contract to link up Tinapa for the first time in history to national grid, it is obvious that it will still be difficult to have a lot of traffic to cross River State at this time. So what is the wise thing to do? Either turn it to medical center of excellence or into a first-class university. And that is in the offing, which is part of why I was traveling across the globe looking for educational partnership.
Many people have looked at it and said, what is Obi up to? Doesn't know the state of Nigeria. The Nigerian is not really interested in shaking the system.
Well, I don't know about Nigeria not being interested in shaking the system. This system is already shaken. The system is already shaken. Any group of people, maybe they are not seeing people out there, but the truth, they are not seeing people on the street. So a lot of the people, or most of our political class, feel very, very complacent. They feel that all is well with Nigeria. All is not well. It is important for us to own up to the fact that we are fragile at this moment. There's, the country is brittle. It's pretty brittle. And we have to be careful that we don't push this further. You know, the resilience that we have shown so far, only God knows how far. How elastic it is. So I believe that those who sort of say you can't shake the system, they have another thing coming. They have another thing coming.
They were in this place and they were also in the mosque. So how was he able to manage the security of those people in this house and those people in the mosque?
So wai ya kai ka kare rayukan mutanen da suke cikin nan da kuma mutanen da suke cikin masallaci. Kai kadai da iko ne na Allah. Iko ne na Allah. Ba hikima ta ba karfi na ba. Kullum dai muna addu'a Ubangiji Allah kare mu daga dukkan musiku da bala'i. Ba wai hikima na. So he said that he does something from God. It is not his own power. Something divine or miracle just happened. So on that fateful day, I must say I was in the mosque. So it's just something, just collective efforts. Because those people that they came in here, we know them. There are people that we are born here together with them for a long time. I didn't think there is if there is any grudges, they could not run down to us our own side. So we'll open the door widely for them to come in.
Yeah. So the question was that when these people came, they saw that they were inside here.
Yes.
They also knew that they were in the mosque.
Yes.
So he was standing here. Who was standing at the mosque?
We are there. We locked the door.
We locked the door.
Yes, we locked the door. They even tried to push the door. They want to force in and get in. We lock it up. We said there is no any Christians here. We are Muslim. We are all Muslims here. Yes.
Yeah.
So if you want to kill them, you just kill us together.
Yes. Now your party is getting set for a round of election next year. Buhari is on the ticket, the number of governors on the ticket. Will you deliver?
We will.
How so?
We will, because first elections, not that we are about to start. We have already started. But what I think people are used to is the flag of rallies at the presidential level. But in many states, many state governors have already flagged off their governorship campaign. And invariably, in all such campaigns, they put the message of the president across. So it's also a campaign for the president, it's a campaign for National Assembly members, for the governors, and for the House of Assembly. So those are already going on at various levels in the states. We have a president that has helped us regain recognition. Talk to anybody, they'll tell you that we believe President Muhammadu Buhari is an honest man. We believe that President Muhammadu Buhari is not corrupt. Even foreigners will say so, and they do say so, and they have been saying so. When a man mismanages your house for 60 years, and you start asking questions, all he has to say to you is, I am sorry. Are you about to return the house to him? And all the characters, all the figures are there.
Public affairs analyst Joe Agro and journalist Adewale Adeoye, also a public affairs analyst, joined me to analyze events of the past year. Welcome, guys.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Well, President Buhari returns from treatment. That was one of the key dramas in the year. How did you take it?
Well, I think...
Do you think it was good or it was bad?
Yeah, I think it was good for many people.
Yeah.
But for some, for parochial political interests,
yes,
it was bad news.
Yeah.
And you could see that immediately returned back, hale and hearty. A lot of people felt they had to leave the party because their aspiration of taking over the mantle of leadership, probably replacing the president, collapsed.
Yes.
So they were compelled to to leave the APC to move to other political parties.
That is, yes.
Meaning that for joining APC in the first place was informed by the assumption that President Buhari may not be able to complete his first term.
Yes.
So it was not actually in public interest that they left the APC to go to the other party. It was, for their own personal interest.
Yes, yes.
I think really it's coming back hale and hearty is good. It's good for humanity.
Yes.
If you be ill before and you get well,
Yes.
you'll be happy to be well.
Yes.
And those who love you are happy to be well,
Yeah.
that you are well. But the thing is this, politics is competition everywhere.
Yes.
Anybody who left any party because of somebody is ready to fight on was not ready in the first place.
Exactly.
It was not, no place is prepared for anybody.
It was something, when he came, it was seen as, Buhari has come with Sars. Some people were jumping and dancing.
Yes.
There was a keeper feast in town.
It's good for competition.
Yes,
it's good for competition. Yes, so...
It was an interesting development.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Though he raised issues and the lily-livered did not feel happy.
Yeah, yes.
It's to be expected anyway. But
that's how it goes.
Yeah.
So it was not so much about his health. His health was political or politicized. Depends on where you stood.
and for good reasons too, because his sojourn abroad threw up so many things. People wanted to know what was wrong.
Yes.
And the handlers were not talking.
Yes. Up to today, we don't know.
And I think that was not fair on the people who were paying the bills.
And communication during the time was not
Yes,
was expected.
I think that was not right.
Daura dismissed as DSS blockade the National Assembly. That was when Buhari was away.
Yes, yes. The man acting at that time saw it as the height of
As the
aberration.
vice president,
Yes,
was
the
acting
vice
president.
president. Yes, was the height of aberration and abuse of office. That is desecrating the National Assembly was.
What was it about the drama of his dismissal that caught the news? It's just if you dismiss somebody, it may not be seen as that serious.
I think, on the other hand, if President Buhari had wanted to stop his being sacked, even while he was abroad, he could have done it. So, irrespective of where he was. But I think...
But is it not possible that it depends on the line, the kind of line that the vice president gave him? He must have communicated with him.
Yes, but there were cases that people were sacked and they were recalled. But in this case, it was not recalled, even when the president came back. But I think Daura, a 65-year-old man that had retired and was brought back again, it was a bad game for him to have left the service in this disgraceful manner. And he was somebody that people felt was above board. You know, it was like a pillar, an unmoved mover. But suddenly...
Above the rule of law.
Yeah, almost above the rule of law.
And was seen to be working against the interests of the president,
I think,
creating tension within the
there were speculations that it was linked to so many rogue intelligence. Yes. The raid on the judges' homes, you know, that were, then the invasion of the National Assembly, things that painted the government in bad light.
SARS reform after Sars campaign and complaints.
Well, I think we need to recognize the role of one Awosanya, who started the campaign. The campaign. It was an online campaign, and that shows what Nigerians can do. When they are determined. With social media. Apart from all this Yahoo thing, that it could be a weapon, a potent weapon for change. It started that campaign, and a lot of people came in. And I'm glad that at the end of the day, the police had no option than to listen to the voice of the people. That they had to set up a panel that sat, and ended, I think between
that happened when Chibok was acting president.
Yes, that happened. It was a very significant event. And I think there have been some changes since that reform was...
The SARS movement was very significant because of impunity that was reigning on the streets. The police people were just running wild.
Are they not still running wild? It's just that it has mellowed a bit. But the SARS, they were being used for all manners of things.
They take your passport, take your ATM, laptop. Sorry, laptop.
They see you with your bag, they will say, bring your phone, open it, they search it. But But they say from their name, they are for anti-robbery squad. You've not robbed.
Well, they were the one robbing.
But they were the one robbing.
Nigeria is good for its own paradox, yeah. So those who guards the Guardian? Eh?
Almost everybody was fed up with the operations.
Yes. Dapchi schoolgirls' return was a significant event during the year, Uncle Joe.
Yes, because the whole thing was so dramatic. The Chibok things were not, we were still on that. Suddenly we woke up to see that 110 girls were just taken away like that. No bullet shot. But also, to the glory of God, let me say, we also returned -1.
Leah Sharibu.
Yes. Who refused to renounce her faith. Father stood her out, and that is very significant. In fact, that became the most significant story of the Dapchi girls' capture.
And one of the most significant stories all year.
All year, and it's still on.
It's still on.
It's still on. Anybody, a small girl, 14, then now 15, in captivity, who was so committed to his faith that, oh, if that is the condition you want to give me to renounce my faith and embrace Islam, forget it. You can as well hold me.
Yeah, but it was not only about the fact that she was a Christian, but it's also a human story.
Yes. Yeah, I think it's a human story because the victims were girls and vulnerable. You know, and they were just taken away like that, 110. And assume to take 110 people, we probably need about 2 vehicles. We needed time to put them in the vehicles. We needed time to drive for certain, for a number of kilometers.
Yes.
And we are talking about a period of about 3 hours or 4 hours. And in the desert.
And they took their time.
And nobody, could raise alarm. Nobody, they were not arrested. They took these girls away. But it's quite significant that, about less than 2 months after the kidnap, that the response was swift, that they were returned back to their homes, except one lady.
You get the sense that the government has not done enough on Sharif.
It was alleged that there was a kind of acquiescence between the captors and even the community.
Yes.
That explains why even the soldiers that were supposed to be on guard in that community were said to have been withdrawn a few days before the incident.
Yes.
And like you said, no bullet shot. Just neatly, they were taken away.
Well, you don't need to shoot bullets when there's a threat of bullets. You don't need to shoot bullets.
And not to scare people. And also, they were also neatly brought.
It was arranged. The return was arranged.
They were distributed to their homes. Say, okay, this is your home.
Without Leah.
Yes, without Leah.
It continues to create a kind of problem for the government, because the government needs to give us a narrative. And the narrative is not simply by visiting the families.
Yes. That is empty.
That's political.
That is empty.
It's political.
Yes.
We need the girl back.
That's it, whatever it takes. Because our remaining with them is more than just the girl. It's like everybody is in captivity.
In the sense that the girl has not been.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that has not been solved.
Okay, we'll take a break now. I will be right back. Welcome back. We have a new guest joining us here. Is Achike Chude. That's a public affairs analyst. Welcome to the show.
It's a pleasure.
I think I'll start with you now. We're looking at the events of the past year. There was this sex for mark scandal with Professor Richard Akindele, who became convicted. It was quite a dramatic story, but, do you get a sense that he's a fall guy of a trend that has overtaken our tertiary institution?
I think we should blame the social media. For the downfall of the professor.
You should blame yourself first.
Well, no, of course, we get there. Of course, definitely. But what I meant is, you know, under normal circumstances, this would not have had the kind of effect that it had all over the nation.
Yes.
Just like you said, a fall guy for a trend that has been on for decades.
Yes.
This is, we all know, we also went to school, went to the university, and we have seen this thing happen time and time again. And again, but the medium for bringing this out to the public was, I mean, it's not something that that has always been there. At this time around, you could get your story out beyond the normal conventional, you know, media. And so immediately it hit the airwaves, it hit social media. I mean, it exploded, something that has been going on. And it gives you a sense that people have been upset about what has been going on in the university system for a very long time, for decades and so on, you know, parents, you know, and so many other people. And so it was an opportunity to latch onto it and to make sure that it does not escape scrutiny of, you know, of public discourse. And I think it is, you know, the culture of impunity that has brought people to this level, because sometimes it depends on the kind of social condition you find yourselves. Even decent people, if there's that impunity, culture of impunity, will become indecent because others have done it and gotten away with it. But this is a man perhaps whose family life has been destroyed. He has lost the respect of his children, perhaps has an irreparable relationship with the wife right now. The question you ask is, has it been worth it? For how many minutes of pleasure?
Exactly.
Yeah, that is the warning.
Now, of a robbery, some suspects arrested. Michael Adiku dies in detention. Uncle Joe, that was a very interesting development.
Yes.
Because it was not just a robbery, it had political implications.
Yes. And such will always be there. And it starts from having thugs. You arm your thugs. After the election, what happens to the weapons? Can you guarantee their good conduct? That is the question.
Exactly.
You can't guarantee, you've armed them quite all right with the intention to intimidate your opponents during campaigns, during elections, and after the election, what happens? Can you guarantee their continued good behavior? Now there are no political battles to fight. And a man with weapons, now powerful with
and you have unleashed him into the society.
Yes, he's now powerful that he can now see every other person as somebody he can subdue, and which he can turn to wealth. So anybody with malevolent intentions and is armed, fully armed, can take it to any advantage.
Now that is, it is the same source, the same negligence or cynicism that led to the Niger Delta militancy. Boko Haram too has its roots in this kind of thing.
I think we have to take a serious look about non-state actors that have access to illicit weapons. Because it's like in Nigeria, almost everywhere, people can access weapons, deadly weapons, you know, AK-47, pistols. And when we are talking about arms, I mean, controlling crime, we need to also have an effective policy of gun control. Because if people don't have access to guns, the idea of going to rob banks, they will appreciate the kind of challenge they will, you know, face from the police. And in this case, they robbed 5 banks, you know, and then 5 people were arrested. I still have my doubts because 31 people were killed. That those, I mean, 30, okay, between 30 and 33 people. Are we saying that only 5 people carried out this operation? And then the guy that led them, a retired, you know, former police constable, you know, that raises a lot of questions about profiling. Because I'm sure he had this record, you know, probably in the police. So does it mean that they were not keeping a tap on him? If there had been a record whereby they keep record of all these guys, you know, it would have been easy to know. Just take the fingerprints and then, but it took them a long time before they could even get the suspects.
I would just look at it
before you go there. When this thing happened, I was discussing with a big political person who said, but this thing happens to every campaign, every politician who is running for office has it. I said, well, that's no reason why you should excuse them. And I use the expression in the Bible, I say, blessed are those whose sins are covered.
You know, exactly. You see, I was actually, you know, going there. It gives you an indication of the level of our political development, the state of our democracy.
It's what you call machine politics.
And the people itself. And then, but most importantly, it gives you an idea of the nature, character, and temperament of our political elites. Actors, exactly. You know, again, it is a negative scorecard for the level of our political development in this country, that these things are happening. And most importantly, the politicians make use of the official security agencies in their campaigns. And at the same time, they make use of, officially too, all manners of criminals, all manners of thugs, people, social deviants. Social deviants are integrated into their security apparatus. Being protected again by the official security arms of the government. Legitimizing
gangsterism.
The gangsterism, the use and deployment of criminal elements in a political process. So how would that kind of process turn out to be ultimately at the end of the day? Because these are the people, what they have done is to give them is it a premature? Give them that legitimacy, just like you have said. So by the time they get to office, they know that they are also protected, because when they fall foul of the government of the day, they can count on their political friends to come and bail them out of the situation.
The interesting thing though is that once they get into office and then there's a law, the people feel that now we have to do something. We have weapons, we have all of this, so we have to feed. These people are not giving us money.
But do you not blame the authority? Do you not blame the police that know that this thing exists and they allow it?
Police have no problem. No problem. It's the political elite. Beyond the police.
It is the
politicians. Yes. They all do it. That's why I said, blessed are they who sins are covered. Because the person who sins are not covered was exposed.
That is it. That is it. And then, of course, the death again, I raised there some grounds for suspicion.
Yes, it is. The thing was even traced, the vehicle was traced to a government house. Death of aid worker Awal Liman and Saifura Kosha were executed by Boko Haram soldiers, Boko Haram people.
Yeah, it puts the government in a bad spot. I mean, all of this, because the reality is that we expected so much in terms of security guarantees, from the government. I know it did not start with this government, previous governments and the rest, but I think there was also that hope that we'll be able to get out of the security quagmire that we found ourselves in. That has not exactly worked, in spite of the best efforts. And my worry, is that it seems that in the past few weeks that they have grown in perfidy, and boldness and daring and all of that. So the government really has to up its game. It puts Nigeria in the bad spot, once more at the international level, because these were aid workers of international organizations.
One of them was on social media before they got her, saying that they were coming. It's kind of a very, very touching.
It is touching, because it's like you're looking at
the
death of a person unfolding just before it happens. It is helpless. Most importantly, for the family members, how would they see it? The last moment of their child, of their ward. It was a terrible experience.
Uncle Joe. Yeah. What it shows again is that even the international bodies became very, very shy of coming.
It raised serious international concern about our seriousness. That how are we fighting this war? Are we really ready? Here are aid workers helping the displaced people, and we can't protect them.
And then we'll go into that and look at Metele.
Yeah, I think Metele was quite an unfortunate case of a massacre of soldiers. It was an embarrassment that the Boko Haram could, a snake that we thought had his head has been severed, suddenly came back, raging with fury, and was able to commit that kind of horrendous crime against our soldiers. I think it was quite bad. But the most unfortunate aspect is that I feel for these soldiers, because when soldiers are killed abroad, you see the kind of honor that they receive, they are giving. They are not just statistics, they are human beings. Their names, their families, they are heroes who have died for their And I think they deserve that kind of a heroic burial. Unfortunately, after the military massacre, we also had, you know, two major incidents, you know, in December and then November, you know, where soldiers were also killed. I think Boko Haram is becoming daring. More than before.
Apart from daring, because going to barracks should be a fortified place, most secure place. For your opponents to come to your...
Militarily sacrosanct.
Yes. For them to come there and attack and kill, it's a dangerous signals across. When you add those one up to the subsequent attacks, even on military bases, and this recent crash of our helicopter.
The Borno State governor even spoke about
admitted
it.
That he said, look,
you see, and that is the thing. And again, you know, the government, especially the military, has this attitude of when you talk negatively about what is going on, they get upset and they brand you as somebody who does not wish, enemy of the state, who does not wish the military well. But people are saying it out of concern. Yes. They are saying it out of sadness, you know, that this kind of thing is happening to the country. And so some of those people, I think the dialogue between Cassius and Brutus, a true friend will not say this. And Brutus replied, no, a true friend will say, will say this fault. That is the reality. So we have to say it as it is with responsibility and so on. But beyond that, again, I think the media needs to do more. And where is the media defaulting? For instance, we have had instances, I mean, we've heard stories about the military not being, members of the military, you know, armed forces not being taken care of in the war front and beyond that. But so we want them to go out and do some investigation. The next of kin of these people that are being killed, their children, their families, what has happened to them? Has the government given them some kind of compensation after this sad incident?
This is the job of the media to do all of that.
They should, to put the government under pressure so that they will do more for them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a very important thing.
Yeah.
The herdsmen crisis, very significant, because on this show, a number of people have come to discuss the herdsmen crisis. Throughout 2018, it was significantly the most devastating story but coming towards the end of the year, it seems to have petered out. And some people are saying, was it really herdsmen or was it criminality? Because the herdsmen are still there.
Yeah. I think at a point we thought that there will be no end to the crisis.
Yes.
And everybody was worried.
Yes.
So perhaps so many factors led to the retreat, or you know, to the cloud that suddenly you know, fell on the activities of the herdsmen. Perhaps maybe...
Or so-called.
Yeah. Maybe the government strengthened its intelligence network. But I also think there were a form of resistance from a lot of communities, especially in the Middle Belt, who were able to organize themselves. And after waiting for so long, they felt, look, we cannot continue to wait on government. We have to fight back.
But with these incidents of backlash, of communities fighting herdsmen back, they always came and they raised and they went.
Yeah, but I think in Benue.
You said this, even let me quote you. You educated me on this through your writings.
Yes.
That government waking up with their
I-35.
I-35, yes.
Yeah, the Russian aircraft.
That became very effective. I mean, they've just woken up to do that. They need to fight these herdsmen to keep them in check.
Because the aircraft,
otherwise, they were devastating the whole region.
The aircraft was extraordinary in that it could. You don't need the runway for that aircraft. It's just like the American Apache. American Apache being a little better. You know, it can operate at night, and it can operate with stealth. And if you are going into rocky terrain, it can go there and fire you and destroy you. I think that is an unsung story of the past year.
Is the introduction of that that changed the whole narrative?
But you know, I don't think I would. I have a slightly different position about that, because the reality is, whether it is herdsmen, whether it's kidnappers, whether it's Boko Haram, whether it's criminal elements, what is their trademark? Violence, death, destruction, pillaging. You understand? And this is still happening in some other parts of the country, whether it is herdsmen or not. And that was why you asked, maybe rhetorically, is it the herdsmen or is it criminality?
It's criminality, but why it's significant is that a section of the country was pinpointed as being responsible for it. The herdsman doesn't go to school. The herdsman probably was not aware of all the talk in the media and the newspaper because it was always there with his cattle. It would be very interesting to go to get media people to go and ask herdsmen, were you aware that they said that you people were killing people?
But the herdsmen admitted.
They were, no, it's not as if we have not had problems with herdsmen farmers. We have had problems with herdsmen farmers. We have always had them.
Yeah, but not at this scale.
Why did it come at this scale? It was probably because criminals, according to the former head of the Middle Belt Congress, who died, I forgot his name, was on this show. He kept insisting that it's not the herdsmen that I know that were doing this, that there were some shadowy groups.
You see,
Balastakaya.
There are no two ways about it. The reality is that, I mean, like you said, they have been around for decades. Since, I mean, independence. And people have always known them as people of peace. They come in there, they are pastoralists, they come in there and then do their thing and then go away. So this just introduced a new dimension to what is going on.
We have to move further because we are running out of time. Minimum wage dispute. This is also projected to the new year. We have not had the solution to it.
It's ridiculous.
Can we ever have a solution to 30,000 naira? Do they have the money to pay?
I think 18,000 naira.
Was difficult to pay.
Can we sustain that 18,000 naira?
We
600 naira per day for a worker. For instance, that lives at the Kurudu and needs to transport himself, maybe using about 400 naira. So he's left with about 200 naira for a whole day, probably for a family of 3. But if at the root of this matter is the question of federalism. Do we need a national standard for minimum wage? My own position is that we don't need that. I don't think the minimum wage in Sokoto should necessarily be the same minimum wage with workers in Lagos or Ekiti State. So I don't think we need to define a national framework for minimum wage. So this question of saying 30,000 naira, maybe Lagos can even pay more.
We are talking about minimum wage. We are not talking about living wage.
And it's good you brought up the issue of a living wage because when you talk about a living wage, then 30,000 naira is a scandal. You look at it, it's a scandal.
But the question is,
but the
who
reality,
can pay 30,000?
Yeah, but the reality again is this. About 96 countries all over the world have minimum wage. Minimum wage is just the baseline.
That's the baseline.
You understand? So a state like Lagos State that says, look, what is 30,000? My workers need much more than that. They cannot live on 30,000. It's free to pay 60,000 if they can afford it. So it's just a baseline.
Don't go below 30,000.
Yeah, but don't go below 30,000. But beyond that is the fact that, as for me, because I have taken personally a position on this matter, I'm fully with the workers when it comes to this issue. Let the politicians change their lifestyle. It was in Senegal that the president said, look, we cannot continue to sustain this kind of lifestyle that we're living.
Where your daughter marries in Dubai,
do you understand?
And you hold, and you are a senator, you have a Lamborghini,
for as long as we see this go on, no governor can tell us that they do not have the money to pay the minimum wage.
We don't have time now. So
the thing is that, one, the governors, the state cannot pay because they are overstaffed. What are they doing? How many commissioners doing what? Personal assistant, special assistant.
There are political appointments. No. It's not only that. It's not only that. The point is that they appoint civil servants. They want to give the idea that they are actually helping with the job situation, and then they employ so many people and they can't pay.
But if everybody is deceiving everybody.
Everybody's deceiving. So we are deceiving ourselves.
You go to security votes. You go to governors, about 21 governors who are now in the Senate. They are collecting stupendous allowances that they collected.
Where's the money coming from? From the same source.
Governors. And then they are in the Senate. They are eating from both sides of the mouth. And then they are telling us that they don't have money to take care of.
So the question is not whether they have money.
No.
Because I don't think they have the money.
The question is,
the point is whether there's hypocrisy. There's hypocrisy,
there is.
A lifestyle that divides the haves from the have-nots.
Now, beyond that, I think the civil servant can be made to be more productive.
Yeah.
They should be redeployed to the farms. Because when you have 17,000 people doing nothing,
losing nothing. President Buhari pulled during 2019 budget presentation.
Yeah.
Well, I think in democracy, anything can happen. It is given. People can boo their president, but I think the way it was conducted, you know, it was petty, it was, premature, and I think it portrayed them in bad light. That's the parliamentarians, because you had also side talks. Even when you want to criticize, I think the criticism should be constructive. But you are just doing, you know, guessing and I think it was motivated by partisan political positions of the members of parliament.
And some people said it was because one of the reasons that they didn't get the account amount
they were not
money.
The usual money that usually give to them.
It doesn't.
Well, you know, so much water passed under the bridge, so much acrimony within the system. And again, you know, we all know that really the kind of brickbat amongst the political elites is never about the people of this country. It is about certain sectarian interests that they must satisfy. And so all those sentiments were playing out on the floor of the National Assembly on that, you know, particular day. And it is a pity, because ultimately, you see, the reality is that the political class is like Dr. Abubakar Momo would say, this political class is a very irresponsible political class. They do not understand. In fact, he said they are not even a class, because a class knows truly how to take care of itself. That these people,
well, you can be a class and not know how to take care of it.
It's a political elite.
But they have been taking care of themselves since the 80s. And they have been getting without this, they don't know how to take care of themselves. They've been taking care of themselves.
What I mean, because the house is falling. The reality is that the house is falling. The house that they have built is falling. There is so much, you know, recrimination. There is so much division.
When the house falls, it will not fall on top of them.
So they think. So they think.
It will not fall on top of them. All their children, all their families are outside the country. They just bought the next plane, and they have money in a Swiss account and all those to take care of themselves.
But one thing I know is that nobody controls all the variables of life. There's always a factor X.
We said so, Daura.
There's no defense for the Boeing. No defense. Because the National Assembly has all the time. They can devote a session to debate the president's speech.
They have their own time to do so.
To dissect it and apportion blames and poo-poo all what they consider as lies. And bring them out and say, look, President, what you said here is not correct. Itemize them. So it would then be more meaningful to us with the electorate.
Yeah, well, the last one we'll look at, which really is interesting to me, and I'm personally invested in this, is the Abubakar Abdullahi. It's the last but one. But before we go to Abdullahi, there was the funny one. The snakes and the monkeys, they suddenly became corrupt. They became monetized. Do you need to say anything about it? It's funny enough. I don't need to
Well, I think the EFCC moved in. I don't know whether the snake was arrested and the monkey and all of them. Yeah, and they want to get in on the action. The humans cannot be allowed to have it all. You know, so.
And of course, we had the Jibrin story. The Jibrin
theater of the absurd. I mean, we see all kinds.
Yeah, and then we had the Jibrin story, and some people, very, very educated people, started to believe that president was not even a cleric, a well-known cleric. Went on the pulpit and saying that actually the president was not the president. You know?
But you see, the reality is that when a country has been reduced to this point of ridicule, it tells you that we're in deep crisis. We're in deep morass. No doubt about that.
You see, and all this emanated from the opacity of how his health issue was handled.
Exactly.
Because
so if we knew everything about his health,
so much was hidden from us.
Nobody would tell us. Nobody would deceive us. We didn't know. Up to today, we don't know.
So much was hidden from us. And when you don't know,
you speculate.
If you are president of a democracy, your illness should also be subject to the tenets of democracy. So that was the whole thing. And Nnamdi Kanu was trying to get his own kind of resurgence of his own name. And he got that, but it was only a flash in the pan. He has disappeared now, looking for new things to manufacture.
I don't think it makes sense to say that the president is not the president.
No, but you see, again in a way, these things don't happen in a vacuum. Just like you said.
Yes.
The fact
I
that
did a column on this and said that
yes,
it was information gap that they exploited.
And beyond that, again, in fact, it is funny that it is happening now because we have a minister of information that had also said the same thing during the sickness of the previous government,
yes.
Yaradua, and the same kind of perfidy we saw with the Yaradua, the handling of the Yaradua, situation. Nobody knew what was going on.
Okay, the Imam Abubakar Abdullahi, who risked his life, the 3-year-old man who risked his life to save hundreds of Christians. I visited him last week on this. I showed him last week when I visited him on this show. It was this village I went to, and Yelwa Gindi Akwati, very far from just the rocky terrain where they went when the people came in and they slaughtered people going towards the mosque and his home, and he stood there to say, I want my people saved. Who were these people? They were not Muslims like him, they were Christians. And newspapers were saying 300 people, 150. He said he can't count. From the places I went to, from the size of the mosque, and also an adjunct mosque, and his own house, the most easily could have been 500 or 600 people he saved.
I think he's my hero.
Yeah.
And I think he should be a national hero.
It should be.
I'm not sure we are giving him enough recognition.
No, not enough.
Because you need such bridge builders to change the narrative of our country, that were people divided by religion, divided by culture, divided by faith. So this single action of this man has indicated clearly there are so many good Nigerians everywhere. Irrespective of their place of birth, their religion, or their ethnicity.
And a man who has not traveled wide.
Yeah, it's a story that inspires, that should inspire Nigerians.
Yes.
No, but beyond that, it also gives you an idea, of the richness from that perspective of the Quran.
Yes.
Because this imam is representing a religion.
Yes.
And has, a different perspective.
He said
on the demands of that religion.
He said, he has asked him, I said, look, you're a Christian, you're a Muslim, and you talk a lot about Christ. I said, look, Christ, who is Isa in the Quran, was mentioned 25 times, and even Muhammad was mentioned 5 times.
Yes.
So is this any reason why there should be conflict?
Yeah.
How we do?
Yeah, from the whole thing, I see him as a universal personality.
Yes.
One, he has demonstrated love, irrespective of whoever is involved. And he has shown peace to the world. This is what you get as an ideal personality anywhere in the world. He's defended people at the risk of his own life, because he could have just been killed.
It was also a story of a community without prejudice, because the mosque was a land given to them by the Christians.
Wow.
And they even donated 60,000 naira to building the mosque.
There's a saying, by Christ himself, greater love has no man than to lay down his life for his fellow man. This is what
I think that's the last word.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, gentlemen, for looking at the past year. We are in the beginning of a new one, and it looks like the dramas have begun. Thank you for watching the program today. You can catch up with my published columns and articles on my website, www.samomashei.com. Also follow me on Twitter. My handle is @samomashei. Enjoy the rest of your day, and until next time, be good.